Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Blueprints. My name is Chad Jennings. I'm the head of customer voice and product experience here at IBM Software. And in this series, we unpack a customer's use case and their architecture, tell you what they've learned, how they implemented what they did, and what some of the impacts were. And so today, I'm delighted to be joined by Helio Reis, who's the head of computer-aided facility management at Mitie. Helio, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Shad.
You know your world better than I do, clearly. So would you please go ahead and introduce yourself and your company and a little bit about what you all do?
Mitie, we are the largest facility maintenance company in UK. We basically, as a company, we basically keep the lights on your everything that is a building and the space around the building, what is considered a building, everything that we consider as a building. So it can be a train station, an airport, office building, parking space, garden, anything like that. It's under our scope of our company. We are around 76,000 colleagues and growing. We operate mostly in UK markets, but also we have operations and growing in Spain. We have minor operations around Europe, but because we are clients there and we keep their operations there. So, yeah, it's basically in a nutshell, that's my
Awesome. So, Mitie, like in doing facilities management, it's kind of like that in, behind the scenes type work where, if it's done perfectly, kind of we never notice it. So would you take us through a little bit about the breadth of operations? And we've prepped a couple images here, so I'll go ahead and put those up, but it'll help give everybody a story of just how prevalent your services are to like how we get along in the day.
Yeah, Chad, it's really easy. I'm going to tell you a day in the life of the company that you don't see. So you leave your house, you go into to the train station to pick a train, and you see someone taking care of the garden on the parking near your house. That person might be someone from Mitie taking care of that for you. You get to the parking of the train station. That parking might be also managed and cleaned and secured by Mitie. Most of the parks, some of the main train stations in UK are done by Mitie also. So we take care of the cleaning, we take care of the security, we take care of the operation that makes you have a quiet walk through that parking space. And if on your drive to the station, you are driving a Tesla or a BMW, I'm pleased that they are our customers also. So maybe that's when you drove your car to the dealership to be maintained, you sit in or you were in a space that were maintained and cleaned by Mitie also. Mm-hmm. So you start to see a pattern here is we pretty much are everywhere. So you drive to your train station, you get your tickets, you sit in the train. Probably that train also is cleaned by Mitie and secured. Then you get to your office. At your office, we take care of your plants that you see in the office. We take care of the cleaning, the security, the access, the room booking. We want to make sure that your experience is seamless. As you said, the idea is that you don't notice us and our operations go under the radar and you don't notice that we were even there.
So another place that we talked about that really blew me away is, in addition to the, traveling from home, like you covered the home to the commute or to the office, et cetera. But when folks are traveling internationally, right, you also do the same kind of like, cleaning and security and maintenance for places like Heathrow. And to everybody watching, like Helio told me about these cleaning devices, which are like, as we described, Roombas on steroids.
Yeah, that's what I call a Roomba. Because a Roomba, everyone can identify what the Roomba is. That's small fish with that goes around doing crazy patterns cleaning the house. So this is that, but on steroids. This is a massive cleaning robot that goes around large spaces like Heathrow and some of our the train stations that we do, and it does that exactly the same job as your Roomba, but on a larger scale.
Yeah, this one actually looks like it's got a steering wheel, but we do have a picture.
No. Some of them you can even sit on them and let them drive you. They are that big.
But I did want to let everybody know that Mitie, like, they're serious about their work, but they also have a sense of humor, right? Here's the Superman one.
It's a special special skin we have because we do children hospitals. Some of them are children floors that children with cancer and that stay at the hospital for a long time. And we have a special touch for them, and we created some special skins. This is one of them.
That's outstanding. I appreciate both the functionality of your job and the humor and humanity that you're also employing when doing it. So hopefully everybody now we've got like a sense of what really the scope of Mitie's influence on our lives as we go along here. Okay, so now we've talked about like how how you relate to like normal people's lives. Let's talk about like your customers. And so, when we talk about your use case or how you deliver these services, you're talking about cleaning tickets and you're talking about, the number of people you touch. So let's talk about like your use case in that particular regard. So can you tell us about the magnitude of like how many tickets do you have every month?
Yeah. On average, we raise around 2.5 million, 3 million tickets every month. Maximo is our core solution that it all starts and ends in Maximo. So all of this, Maximo takes care of all of it, and all the SLAs, all the preventive maintenance as agreed with the client, the contracts, the costs, the materials, the staff, the allocation of the work, all of that is done with Maximo. And Maximo now with the suite, we start to use it even more, and we are planning to use it even more.
So that's the thing to mention is that Maximo has gone through an evolution, from a more like logistics management and facilities management point solution to be much more of a suite. And so like part of the discussion we're going to have here is how Helio and his company is taking advantage of the suite. Let's transition into that and we'll talk a little bit about the design principles and requirements. So suite first was the first one, but let's start there and run us through that. And then we'll get right to the architecture diagram.
Yeah, I keep saying this to people, and I think Maximo is celebrating 40 years this year.
Wow,
it's
okay.
It's a landmark for an application for a software to achieve 40 years, and because of that, people still look at the mass and look at the focus on the M, on the Maximo. I'm younger than that, and and I've been Maximo for the last 20 years, so I'm trying to focus on the S on the suite and all the entire package that now Maximo brings to us and all that functionality. And this is something that in Mitie we're trying to look at expand the usage of the solution, not only for what we had. We know Maximo is capability and we know what Maximo can do. Now we are looking at say, okay, with the suite that IBM is giving to us, thankfully with the 9.0 and 9.1, that with that suite, what else can we do? So I'm having an approach that is mass first or suite first. And it is pick that approach and say, my solution has this capability. What are you doing on your business? And what solutions do you have that you are using that I can do that and integrate that into one single space? Yes, that's a perfect image. So this is a very simplified architecture of Mitie. So we use multiple satellite solutions around Maximo. So Maximo as the core, we use Click and MyJobs as the scheduling and mobile tools. We use a middleware for that. We have Esme Aria, that is our chatbot and room booking systems. We have a Beta Lake and Power BI, that's Mosaic. And we have a portal that is client portal that gives access to the clients to our data.
So now, like, let me jump in. Like, you've gone through just a lot already. So, like, the MAS in the center, that's the Maximo application suite, and you've just gone around that your current scenario involves all of these extra spots, from the data lake to the Mosaic to the user interface to homegrown analytics. Like, all of that is these kind of peripheral applications to the application suite.
Yeah.
And the transition that you're making here is, the Maximo application suite is actually embedded much of that functionality. And so your migration path over the next whatever time frame, you'll get into it, I think, is basically bringing that functionality from these satellite things into like one current like suite.
Yes. Yes, spot on.
Okay.
Yeah. So the idea is because before this were all satellite applications that complemented Maximo, and they were running outside, we had to integrate them and synchronize it with Maximo. Now, because this is all part of the suite, IBM has done that job for us. So it's part of the entire offering. It's all under the same offering, under the same suite.
That makes sense. And consolidating makes sense because you've got, fewer interfaces to manage, fewer API keys to manage, fewer vendors to manage. Hey, what infrastructure is this running on, right? You've talked about the software, but like what's the underlying hardware here?
So we are using infrastructure as a service. So we didn't went SaaS because our systems are very peculiar. We had some demands from some of our clients that demanded that we have full control over the solution. So we didn't went full SaaS. So we decided to go infrastructure as a service, as a private cloud. And we installed the Maximo on top of it, and we put it all later data layer on top of it. So we use both AWS and Azure services, but all of it is they just provide the infrastructure to us, and we have Maximo set up on top of it as a solution.
Gotcha. And can you tell us a little bit about, like, in what cases you use AWS and what, like, a lot of customers are hybrid cloud. And so can you tell us about use cases when you use one versus the other?
Yeah, it purely Mitie strategy that we decide that we are going to be a multi-cloud and not put all the eggs on the same baskets. And we decided, okay, let's put commercial side on AWS, and we have the secure contracts on Azure because it demands our Department of Defense and the Ministry of Defense demands that we host the servers in UK, and they must be on special servers. So I think Azure was the first one to offer that service, and that's why we went to Azure for one of that reason. So that's why we have that two separations of Azure and AWS, not for any peculiar.
Well, I mean, partly it's the government requirement, but
that's a Helio. Yes, it was definitely a requirement. When we moved from our physical data centers to cloud, there was a specific requirement from the government that it had to be hosted in the UK.
Yep, naturally. Let's talk about some of the lessons learned as you've been working with your customers and delivering your business over the last, and with Maximo over the last 20 years. What are some of the things that you've learned that you can pass along to other folks in the community here?
So I'm lucky that I have a fantastic, they are not listening, but probably the best team in Europe for of Maximo. But I'm lucky on having them because we learn a lot through the years of what the solution was capable of, and so much that some years ago we decided to avoid customization at all costs. So we went through standard, which our Maximos now are pretty much out of the box or out of the box with configuration, not customization.
Right.
So what that enabled us is that, for example, we upgraded from 7.6 to 9.1 recently in 90 days. 90 days. Then that's from the start of the project to the go live date in 90 days. And without any P1 or P2s, just minor issues that we had with third-party software integrations, but nothing major. So it was a massive leap from a 7.6.3 to a MAS 9.1.3, I think, or 9.1.4 that was done a month ago.
That's a nice testament to, like, A, the backward compatibility of the new versions of Maximo, and then B, your ability to, use configuration instead of, call it, bespoke software projects as you get your needs met. That's really cool. Give us one more.
So we've been in the business for much time, and and we start to look at, and from experiences, even new modules that we are now starting to explore. And if the solution is not doing or what we are requesting from Maximo is not what the solution is doing. Instead of say, let's break the solution, we start to question, let's challenge the business and say, guys, are you sure you want to do it this way? Because this is how IBM, with their Maximo experience and 40 years experience accumulated on Maximo, has been doing it for many areas of business. So oil and gas, communications, rail, aviation, nuclear. So IBM Maximo is everywhere. If these people have designed the solution this way, because all the clients ask it, are we sure we want to do it differently or that we are on the right path? And this opens the really interesting discussions, because then we start to re-engineer our own processes to make it more suitable to what the solution is, instead of breaking the solution and make the solution fits the processes.
I was going to say, like, is that worked well? Because,
Yes,
okay,
I realized that Maximo and IBM, it's been very helpful, and they basically give us as a guideline, say, Maximo is flexible, you can pretty much do whatever you want with it, but if you stay to the guidelines and you stay on the rails that were given to you, you can get to a very good result without much effort. So it's basically, I don't want to say it plug and play. I don't like that. It's not just a plug and play, because that's going to be downplay much of the effort that me and people like me and developers do. So, and if clients watch this, they say, "Oh, it's just plug and play." Even Helio is saying that it's a plug and play solution. Is not. It's sometimes it requires a lot of effort. Even with trying the most to do it out of the box, it requires effort. But it's a solution that we can trust that the process were tested and proved by many clients around the world, and IBM on the user meetings and the ideas that we constantly submitting, it's always bringing new parts and bringing new functionality. So this is something that has been very positive around the years.
Well, I'm very good. I'm glad that's been working for you. And it's counter to a lot of what software development is right now, where like, hey, don't change your business, right? Because the tools are evolving so fast. So it's an interesting example. And I'm glad it's working for you. I will also tell everybody like, if you do have feature requests for Maximo, like the team is absolutely open to that. Like, it's not like, we're coming to the market and saying, this is how you have to do things. But I'm glad that having some of the, call it design constraints from the products has been helpful for you.
IBM has IBM ideas that any user can submit your own ideas. Or if you Google IBM ideas, anyone can go there and submit an idea. And if the idea is good, IBM will include it on the next release. And you got it.
Very good. So, Helio, let me ask you this question. So we talked earlier about 2.5 million tickets per month. And so, like, if somebody's submitting a ticket, right, there's it could be anything from there's a dying plant to there's a water leak.
Yep.
So, for those high priority events, like, what's the SLA that you have to have over these 2.5 million tickets per month?
It's not that your plant is not important, but it doesn't have the same SLA as a water leak on your buffer. So we have SLAs with some of our clients, the most demanding clients, that are 30 minutes. So you can imagine that is not how hard it can be on a busy city like London to get someone somewhere that in 30 minutes. So what we are exploring now and is using remote assistance from the MAS platform to do that kind of assistance. Let me show you a video that I recorded in our offices of me using MAS Mobile Remote Assist. And I was asking for support for someone on the team to fix an AC unit that we had in the office. So this was just me playing with the solution. And I was pointing to it. So basically, you can tell someone remotely what the problem is, and that person can
help you solve it.
give you the instructions. This is also a great solution for a problem that we plan to face in the next years. We all are getting older, or age. Unfortunately, we are all getting to a point in time that we are getting to close to retirement. And in Mitie is not an exception. And we detected that in the next 5 years, we'll need to hire between 10,000 or more technicians to replace the current workforce. We are looking at how all that knowledge of that 10,000 colleagues that are going to go in on retirement, how can we still tap into that knowledge, but not force them to have a full working day? So with remote assistance, we are now exploring how we can have these people working on like a gig show on demand. And they say, oh, got a ticket. Some colleague in the north of in Scotland is asking me if I can help him fix a boiler that is 15 years old. No one knows how to work with it anymore. And instead of sending this technician from south of England up to Scotland, 350 miles or 400 miles drive for a half an hour fix, we can have with this technology, someone do a remote assistant to that person and just explain, oh, see that bulb in red and mark it on the screen. Can you rotate that 90 degrees, or that one in green rotated 5 degrees, and that's it. So this is a great thing of this new technology.
Yeah, and I love that that's helping you in a couple different dimensions. One is helping you keep your SLAs to service level agreements, to service level guarantees to your customers that will be there in that time, so you can turn the valve off, etc. And then it also enables you to extend the life and productivity of your workforce. I think, to be honest, using tech to deliver commercial value and human value, I think that's a fantastic place to leave our to wrap up with. So, Helio, thank you very, very much for the work that you've been doing and the value that you're creating for your customers and your company. And thank you for your partnership with IBM.
Thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure. It was a pleasure to be here, and all the best.